As you probably know by now, Peter Gabriel and Don Toon, working with Martin Scorsese, set me up on a bizarre military mission where they scored abortions on me so they could invade my home and claim I look at pornography. So they have the right to murder me because of some story they've told to the effect that I could have saved John Lennon, by which they ignore the evidence that I investigated a plan behind AIDS. It's pretty scary stuff. But you see, what I want to talk to you about is the serious, bizarre situation whereby people opposing Israel, who wrote the script by Gail Burstyn that I investigated, and in fact is the story source for Yoko Ono's tall tale about me with John Lennon. She's targeting me because I was son of a Navy hero in the human rights movement. It's a strange, strange story. But what Yoko Ono's alternative media, Gestapo, have gotten away with is presenting themselves as being for the Palestinian people. And they tell the standard refrain that they've changed from military people, Greg Stoker is one, to being humanitarians. And they tell the standard refrain of Hamas being a slave uprising. I don't doubt that there were pressures that could lead to a slave uprising, but that's not what happened. Hamas was working with Israel and Egypt to create a pretext. And the reason we know this is from page 246 and 247 of this, where they let on that Sisi was furious about Arab Spring and blamed the Muslim Brotherhood for ousting Mubarak. And Trump and Sisi and Nasrallah, who and Hamas got together, the plan to demolish Arab Spring and punish them for it. And this is what really happened. I'll explain some of it. Michael Foucault, you may remember something called Iran-Contra. If you don't, I'll explain what it is. Iran-Contra was a situation where the Ayatollah Khomeini, representing Islamos, met with Oliver North, representing Christian Zionists and fascists in his movement, through the Zionists of Nasrallah, to create a pipeline whereby Iran could help fund the Contras by secretly buying missiles. And Foucault met with the Ayatollah. He then committed holy suicide with the AIDS virus, as did Sean Straub, who went to the Dakota for Yoko Ono. And you can see how neatly packaged the storyboard of what really took place is. And this is what Carnegie Mellon University absolutely forbids to be told. It has nothing to do with pornography. Todd Kaufman isn't threatening to shoot me because of pornography. He's threatening to shoot me because he doesn't. It's just an ingenious story. Abortion is a death penalty, so the liberal does. They don't care about abortion. They were paying for and sponsoring abortion to get titillation from their ROTC shooting gallery. This is more a bad blood issue between CMU and Pitt, which is long-standing as private and public rivals in university societies. And Pitt are traitors in the matter. They let CMU murder my father. This was a positive and negative sign postcard that was sent by Wills L. Brum, who was proven to have been talking about a scheme to transform the human race, not injecting the blood before AIDS happened, just as the Burson script is mentioned in full um, through symbols in the 1981 Diva film, which has references to the Magic Christian of 1969, both before AIDS happened and yet relevant to the unfolding of the Green Party arc war game Two Virgins Pussy Ball, which Toon and Kaufman are saying that they won't shoot me if I stop porno. So they're not. If I stop porno, they won't care that I'm telling on them about this, right? Oh, if you believe that, you believe Peter Gabriel. So what happened was that Straub was a, a suicide bomber in the AIDS attack. He was Green Party representative from the Jewish community, as was Jeffin. And Straub is like strobe or strawberry fields, or also B-U-R-S-T, Burston. So you get these symbols of the supernova rave. The rave massacre in Seattle was a MAGA type incident. Get these symbols of the supernova recurring. Bushnell lighting himself on fire. Straub and Foucault lighting themselves on fire. Watson Maker giving me a nerve agent. Nabucco's stupid code about what boys should do and girls should do. I told the Navy I was offended that Wanamaker was ignored as a poet because the name is so symbolic. Nabucco, it was the name of the Star of Children of Hiroshima. She's named in the Burston letters. And they say the persona is subjected to successive degradations of the X motive. Does that sound like Kaufman and Neva Pornographic Corporation and Pope Carl care about abortion, that they subject the persona to successive degradations of the X motive? No, it does not sound that way. Mercy Hospital is play acting that they are indignant about abortions. They were coercing me into having sex for their guerrilla theater performance art trick, just as Hamas was pure performance for the annihilation of Gaza. It's pure performance. Arab Spring, they were afraid, would merge with the civil rights movement and cause an international human rights movement. They didn't want that. Plus, they were justifying the AIDS attack, about which these snivelers in Islamo clearly knew all about, and some of the sandbaggers knew about it too. And you notice that David Bowie knew. He was going around giving Hitler salutes and helping Eno set up the Two Virgins Royal Palace war game. Did Erdogan perform any better than Egypt? No. All of these people saying, "Oh, we care." We know how much they care by how little they cared. We know how much they cared by how little they cared. And we have Supernova Hair Salon, like the woman who manipulated all this, who declared that as a papal decree from the seat of infallibility of the spirit foundation of Lenin, thou shalt not be warned. Instead, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. What they said in 1984. One size fits all was their doctrine. You see how much they cared by how little they cared. They cared very little. And Hero Supernova is on J and Division, which is like Joy Division, next door to a spiritual foundation, which uses the geometry of the Palestinian flag for their advertisement, under a cosmonaut signifier near Star Sandwich and Jimmy John's. Go figure. So their holy war was just war theory. They had to PU the Tin Man, Putin the Tin Man, for the carrot tape of TV because they needed to have a storyline to justify how much they care when they unleash the Islamos on the supernova rave. It wasn't repeated very often, but someone once said, how ironic that the people most likely to seek rapprochement with Gaza were the ones at the party. Well, Islamos knew that too. The Arab Spring was a no-no for Sisi and the extremists in the Islamo. So they have the I have nothing against Iran. Nobody who knows me thinks I have anything against its culture or its people. But they funded the Contras at one point, and I have something against that because this group of people were doing things like targeting me because my father was a school bus driver. The way they tortured me was a bombing of a school bus in Pittsburgh. And the sandbaggers have us weeping and wailing for remedy between Israel, Russia, and Iran. Well, for one thing, that sounds like a good idea on its face, but it doesn't sound like any of those people are really interested. And they're the ones who went along with this whole business. They will never nary a peep about Lenin Sundini, which traces to a counterfeiting den called Fayum, where the beginning of the great dictators and the Hollywood studio system conspired with D'Annunzio in a contested sovereignty zone. Yes, the era of the great dictators in the Hollywood studio system traced back to a counterfeiting den. So this is a counterfeiting masterpiece that they have accomplished with the help of not just legacy media, which we hear a lot about if we care about Gaza, but sandbagger media too. Alternative media itself has been absolutely fanatical promoting Yoko Ono's Green Party justification for the murder of my father, the threats to kill me from Tune and Carnegie Mellon University, the running me out of town, the rape of Deaf Jeannie, the Ripper murder of Shannon Harps, sound mental health, poisoning me in the mouth, someone named Bang B-E-N-G Ligason, conspiring to keep me out of college for 12 years at Seattle Central Community College because they said the queers wanted to avenge Israel for being named in the AIDS attack. That's how twisted Yoko Ono's mind is that she actually managed to pull off getting Seattle queers violently military in favor of the people who released the AIDS attack. And you're supposed to say, never question George Takei because he was a friend of Nancy Reagan. That's how the exotic and weird switchboard of Hollywood, Access Hollywood, manages to finagle something like this. So before you assume that you have it right because you go along with Abby Martin, who, after all, is very sensible when it comes to the people of Palestine, I suggest you read pages 246 and 247 of this book. He doesn't come right out and explain what happened, but it's sufficient information to get the idea. Supernova Rave in Tacoma and the Rave Massacre in Seattle were part of a military apparatus that came to light with Iran-Contra.